What's up, cool people? I'm Matt Conroy. So, one of the biggest challenges to Christianity, at least from a, moral and philosophical perspective, is what we call the problem of evil. Otherwise put as the title question to this video. If God is so good, and you could stop right there, or you could add, and so powerful, and so wise, and all those things. But at the very least, if God is so good, such a benevolent, loving God, then why is there evil in the world? This is one of the biggest challenges faced by Christians. One of the toughest questions to really try and answer in a way that is both sound and satisfactory. There are ways that might seem theologically sound to answer this question, but they seem not so satisfactory. Basically, there are some theological frameworks out there that basically say, it was all kind of planned out from the get-go the way that it is, and it's God's plan, and God knows better than us, so that's the way it is. And while that may be theologically, fair and even accurate maybe, it's not satisfactory. It just kind of leaves you thinking really? Then why have that be part of the plan? So, in some recent discussions around this topic, due to a sermon series and kind of small group discussion around this, I think I've come up with an answer that is a pretty decent amount of both, meaning sound and satisfactory. So, the short answer is free will, but I'm going to dig a whole lot deeper than that to answer this question and, get it to where it's actually some kind of, sound as well. And some people think I've already made an unsound answer to this by claiming free will is a thing. Hello, Calvinists. But there are multiple places within the Bible where, I find it hard to deny the existence of free will. Because there are, it makes no sense otherwise to, really fault humanity or any being for disobeying God's will if there's, no such thing as free will. Because then it was all God's plan to begin with. And the sound but unsatisfactory answer to that comes down to, that was just God's design. He made it that way. God doesn't like those things, but he made some people that will do those things anyway because it's all part of the plan to show that there is good and evil and things like that. And that's sound perhaps, but still not very satisfactory. So, as to my point of there being free will, the Bible even talks about angels sinning. Specifically, I'm looking at 2 Peter chapter 2, in verse 4. It says, "For God did not spare even the angels who sinned. He threw them into hell, in the gloomy pits of darkness, where they are being held until the day of judgment." That's New Living Translation, by the way, which I use for sort of simplicity and understandability. And it even talks about in Ezekiel 28, like, it's a little bit uncertain who or what exactly is being mentioned here, but it could very well easily be attributed to Lucifer, aka Satan. Because, I mean, it talks about him being, the model of perfection, full of wisdom and exquisite beauty. Goes on to say, I ordained and anointed you as the mighty angelic guardian. You had access to the holy mountain of God and walked among the stones of fire. You were blameless in all you did from the day you were created until the day that evil was found in you. So, like, if even the angels had a free will and ability to rebel against God, or at the very least sin in some way, then who's like why should we expect humanity to not have free will if the angels do, or at least did at one point? It's little. There's a lot about heaven and all the hosts thereof that are kind of unknown to us, but I digress. And not to mention all the anecdotal evidence of just people doing things that God outright said not to do. Like I've recently been reading through in Exodus. God says, all right, here's what I want you to do, and then you'll be blessed with, my presence, my power, different things like that. And all it takes is Moses being up on a mountain getting commandments from God for a while before the people decide, we don't know who this God is anymore, we're going to make our own. That was literally like one of the first commandments. Don't make an idol. So, anyway. So why do bad things happen? Why does evil exist in the world? Free will. But more nuanced and detailed than that. Because Satan had free will to rebel against God, failed obviously because God, and was thrown down to earth in his rebellion. He then decided to try and, get back at God in a way and, tempt another creation that was made in the image of God to then turn away from God. Which, again, why would that have happened if there was no such thing as free will? But God literally said, there's one thing, one tree that I don't want you to eat from. Everything else is fine. And yet, what do? Through Satan's temptation, they eat of the tree. So, and as a result of that, or at least part of the result of that, was, in a sense, giving Satan some more power on Earth. Because humanity chooses to disobey God and rebel against God, we give Satan a foothold in this world. A way to, have power and influence over us. And yes, there was the one-time thing in the garden, but there are continued instances of that. And I think that's pretty evident just through how flawed we are as people. So there is not even just direct evil that is like, wrongdoing brother against brother, so to speak, but there's like inherent spiritual evil around us because of Satan's rebellion and our submission, in a sense, to Satan and the demons and the evil powers. But all that kind of begs the question, why would an all-powerful, all-knowing, loving God even make something that could openly rebel against him? well, why would God make any of it to begin with? And here's where I think a little bit of the uniqueness of my thought process came in. Because you wonder why God makes any of this, and it's maybe not so much the uniqueness in this particular answer, but it was essentially, everything was made for God's glory. I mean, the angels are continually giving him glory in heaven. There are probably multiple places within the Bible that talk about heaven and earth being full of God's glory. Like, if you are an all-powerful, all-knowing, benevolent God, or being of any kind, and yet you have no way of showing that, like, sure, it's great that you have these things, but is it not even greater for there to be, direct evidence of those things? And it's the loving part of God that comes into conflict and kind of muddies the waters, so to speak. Because if God was all powerful and all knowing but not loving, then there would be no such thing as free will. There would be no need for such a thing as free will, because God could just, essentially program everything like robots to just obey him outright. And it would show his knowledge and his power. Doesn't show love, but it shows knowledge and power. But love comes in, and a forced worship or following or anything like that is not loving. So, in order for the greater glory to truly be evident, free will needed to be a part of that. Because which is more glorious? To have a bunch of people, beings, whatever, who are essentially forced by their sheer nature to follow you, praise you, love you? Or is it not more glorious to have beings that choose to follow you and worship you and love you because they believe you truly are that amazing? So that, my friends, is at least my answer to the question of why there is evil in the world. God had to allow free will in order for his love to be evident in the world, and in us, and in the angels, and in everything. And because free will exists, there must also be the ability to turn away from the God that created all of us and do things that are not right, that are in fact evil. So, there you have it. At least that's the answer that I have kind of batted around in my head and come to a conclusion on for the moment that seems to make sense of all of it. I don't claim to have, the perfect answer, or by no means the only answer for any of this. But I do believe that it is, I believe it is sound, because there is scripture to back up, the conclusion that I've come to regarding the existence of free will, God's love, and all those other aspects. And it's also satisfactory. It doesn't just leave us thinking that, it is the way it is, and we have to just deal with it. No. There is actually, something to be taken from that. And that is the fact that we actually have the ability, or put it in an even more positive light, the opportunity to choose whether we follow a loving, powerful, and wise God, or to not do so and to just try and do things our own way, like countless people do within the Bible. So, that's all I've got for now. So, as always, like and share if you enjoyed the video and want others to see. I know I didn't exactly make this all flashy and interesting and all that kind of stuff. I kind of wanted this to be on the more serious side of things as much as I could make it. Because this is kind of a generally tough topic to discuss. A lot of people are driven away from Christianity because of this. Or, you know, a lot of Christians end up having difficulties answering this question and discussing this issue with non-Christians because they're not quite sure how to answer it in a way that seems both sound and satisfactory. So, anyway, I would ask you if you really think that I've had some good thoughts here, please like it and share it with others so that it can spread further and others can benefit from that knowledge, or at least from the viewpoint. Anyway, in addition to that, just subscribe and click the bell to get updates when I post new videos. The majority of my videos aren't quite like this, but I do have regular Bible study videos coming out twice a week currently, so you can get some more of my thoughts as I dive into God's Word and sort of, you know, not only read it, but analyze it a little bit, give some of my thoughts as I go along. And I'd appreciate some of your thoughts as well. So if you want to join in on that, as I'm doing it, hop over to my Twitch channel. I stream my Bible studies currently on there Thursdays, starting somewhere between 2 and 3 p.m. Central Time. So if you want to actually, you know, engage with it live and give me some feedback and some other thoughts as I'm reading through, I would greatly appreciate that. And I certainly welcome it. Otherwise, though, if you don't catch it live, you can still leave comments down below those videos and engage with that. Similar to what I would encourage you to do with this video as well. Feel free to comment down there, engage, discuss, give me some other thoughts on this or even other topics. And then, of course, you know, I do some other videos as well that aren't so, you know, Bible related, just because I like gaming and that's part of who I am. But feel free to look down in the description as well for info on other social media pages where you might be able to follow me and maybe keep tabs on some of what I'm doing here. And, you know, occasionally I put some things out on those other pages that aren't directly on here either. So anyway, I think that covers all the bases. Hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I'll see you for the next video, or at least for some video in the near future. But whatever the case is, till next time, stay cool, people.